Hi, Stephanie. Welcome to
Hello, Rhea.
our first episode of the Single Mom Diary. And we're going to discuss today the stigma of single parenthood. I'm very excited. What I discovered this morning is that I cannot do Instagram Live because I would have needed 1,000 followers. So we're just going to do this like a video recording,
Beautiful.
but we can have the conversation nevertheless. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so you're a conscious parenting coach, but also a single mom.
That's right. Yes. Um,
So what was your story? Like how did you become a single mom?
so I was married for 18 years and divorced right before the pandemic. So my children were a bit older um, when I started my journey of single parenthood. Though, if truth be told, I really felt like a single parent most of the marriage, especially towards the last years of it. So I have a unique perspective in having this felt sense of being a single parent within a marriage, and then single parenting older children who have already, experienced what they've experienced growing up. So I find that as I look back to be kind of a very unique process that I've experienced as well, and how I am living my life as a single parent now.
Yeah. I mean, I can very much resonate with the feeling of being a married single mom. I separated 2.5 years ago, you know that, and my kids were very small then. They were only 2 and 4. Now they're 5 and 6, almost 7. But I think that while I was feeling so alone in the parenting role in that situation, it was still okay for my family and for everybody around me, right? Because from the outside, and we discussed that a little bit earlier, it all looked fine.
Mhm.
So the optics are so important. And then the moment we take a decision, especially when we as women take the decision for the family, that it's better to go the path alone. I think there's a lot of stigma and judgment.
I agree. I know that I had some stigma about being the one that broke up the family. Um, and that now it's another broken family, quote unquote, for somebody that said that to me. Um, and so that really was interesting because in that same moment, simultaneously, the thought kind of appeared in my mind, but the family is already broken. There's nothing more to break up.
Right, exactly.
So it was really a revelation for me that, um, there's a perception that because we choose to be a part of this institution called marriage, that then means that the family is whole.
Exactly.
And I think that what I have done and what many of us are doing are really reframing and reimagining what family is,
Yeah,
right? What family is. And so it's also understanding that historically there's just been a stigma about, um, single parents, let alone single women being the head of household. And so while we're breaking down and breaking up that stigma and talking about it, because it still exists in 2025, how could it not? With such a entrenched subconscious mentality around what it means to be a single parent and growing up to think that, oh, in order for us to have a family, we need a mom and a dad,
mhm.
and you need to be married. So I think that we are continuing to cultivate and reimagine what family is and what supporting motherhood can mean, how
Yeah,
we can support mothers who are known. I mean, it is clinically known that the health of the mother determines the health of the children. So I would love to see us continue to refocus our attention on the health of a mother and not so much um, attached to what we think a family needs to look like
Yeah.
so that everybody can perceive something from it.
And I think I mean, there is some evidence that ideally, if it's a healthy relationship, it is nice to have the mom and the dad for the children. But if it's not the case, if we just don't have that, I mean, we also don't all have our dream job and our dream house and the finances that we want. So we have to just not compare ourselves to others because anyways, we only see it always from the outside. But just make it the best way we can with the tools we have and the reality we have. And I think a lot of women are scared of taking that step because it's a big step, and you might be judged by your children, by your family, maybe, and especially it hurts when you think about your children, right? Are they going to be upset with me because I did that? Did I take the father away from them? I mean, those were the struggles that I had when
Mhm.
I couldn't involve them because they were so small. I couldn't involve them in the decision. So it was really me. And I had to be sure that I'm taking the right decision. So actually for me, I needed the push. I went to see one family therapist and I just asked her. So from a professional perspective, as a psychologist, because she's also a clinical psychologist, what is better for the children? And she said, well, if there's conflict and if there's tension, absolutely better for them to be only with you. And I want to pick up on what you were saying about the broken family. What about
Mhm.
the nervous system of the family? What about what the children feel? Because there's also these parents that try to not fight in front of the kids. Let's just pretend everything is good. But underlying that whole tension, the anxiety, the mother may be walking on eggshells because she doesn't want to create the conflict, and then this lack of love, this is all something they learn, right? They learn as normal and they live in that tension, and maybe we can see them acting out and then we want to treat the child if we're not conscious parents, right? We say, oh, there's something wrong with the child. I've seen it in couples that go through problems. They say, oh, my child has a problem. No, your child doesn't have a problem. Your child is suffering the situation. So the chance when we become single moms is actually to heal that nervous system of the family, because we can over time heal ourselves. We have more peace. We can really focus on the children, because for me, before I separated, I couldn't. There was too much going on to keep the peace on other fronts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I agree, and I think that the dynamics between how the relationship is co-created with the partner are hugely influential in what the children are experiencing. And yet we're using, I think a lot of people are still in a traditional parenting mentality where there's something, like you said, going on with my child. Why is my child behaving this way? Children behave reflective of their environment, intimate environment, external environment, right? So I think that it's very difficult to want to bring it back to us, the parent. It's very difficult because that means we have to start having some accountability and responsibility for how we're showing up in these moments. And I think it's hard for everybody. And of course it is, because we're playing out so many patterns that we have developed since childhood. And so that's kind of where we lend a little compassion in there. I think that's what really helped me start the process of being more introspective and learning how to regulate my nervous system.
Mhm.
Because I, at least just speaking from my experience, I was the mother who who was the light in the family and who really held it together, but I also shielded my children from behavior that they should have or they could have experienced, and we could have experienced it together and moved through it. Um, as I know now, I I was at the level of consciousness I was then, and that's okay. But it's also okay to reflect back and go, oh, I see. I really shielded my children, and I really, what's the word I want? There's a word that I want to come that's trying to surface. I really conspired to create this front. I conspired with the partner. I don't think I did it intentionally. I know I didn't do it intentionally, but I put on the mask. I put on a front. We're
Mm-hmm.
okay. We're fine. And then once the crowd is gone, you're left with the real human being that you are partnering with. And I think that's really important to recognize for women. We have to be honest and honest with ourselves. Like I needed to take responsibility for how I participated in behavior that was not conducive to a healthy environment for my children. I had to understand it psychologically, not a problem. But I have a lot of compassion for myself and I really want any woman out there to start with that, to have compassion
Yeah.
because it is a survival mechanism. It is a way we survive in these environments that we are in. And it's really hard. It's just really hard.
Yeah.
So I don't want to simplify it in any way. I don't want to complicate it in any way. It's just really hard.
Yeah.
So I think that once we allow compassion for ourselves, we can emerge um, with a clear, uh, uh, experience of this. And what you were saying about regulating the nervous system, yeah, it is so important for moms to be regulated. We are the core, we are the foundation. These beings are coming through us out into this world. And that's why I also really, want to reinforce how important it is to be supportive of mothers,
Mm-hmm.
single or married, but supportive of single mothers is critical in raising healthy humans, which is critical in them interacting with your family members and children and
Yeah.
neighbors. So if we could reimagine the language, the energy with which we show up around women that are single moms, raising children, whether they are young, whether they are older. The struggles are always there, it's not easy. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way right now. I
No,
wouldn't have it any other way.
there's so much guilt also, right? So first of all, I think what we would like to reframe with this discussion is that your family is not broken just because you're by yourself, right? It doesn't mean maybe your family is actually healing and you're teaching them also great strength because it's not easy to take that step. I think that's why many women don't do it. So in a way, the other stigma that I really lived from my family, and they meant it not in a bad way, but they really saw it as such a disaster when I became a
Mhm.
single mom, and they said, you cannot, there's no way you can manage this by yourself. And I was already anxious about it. And then I really felt like even more anxious. And I was thinking, why are they doing this to me? They should have shown me compassion. But this is also when we learn to show compassion to ourselves, right? And to heal ourselves and to create that strength ourselves because it's not going to come from the outside. You, or we have to create these systems in the future. But currently, we don't get that compassion from the outside. And it's not meant in a bad way, but it's just the way it is. So, um, actually, I believe that every single mom that either she decided that step or if somebody else took the decision that brought her into that situation, but you rise to the occasion. You become strong
Yes.
because you have to. And I think as women, we're such mother animals that for our children, we can do many things. And if we don't have a choice, we'll figure it out. And maybe you didn't know how to do accounts, your accounting in your home. Maybe that was your husband, if it was traditional roles segregation, or you don't know how to, uh, use tools. And I was always trying to show my children that, look, mama can, she can hang, a painting on the wall, she can use all these tools. It's not just men, but of course, sometimes we have to learn new skills, no? And
Yes.
you were saying, how do we regulate the nervous system? To be honest, before I separated, I didn't have the mind space to even notice that I was dysregulated. I was just in survival mode. And as you said, we have all these, we're not aware, we're not conscious of all these mechanisms that we employ to keep the peace. How much work that is, what a toll it takes on our health and on our body, and how we often go into the head, right? We detach from the body because
Mhm.
it's too stressful. And so when I had the mind space to recognize, I said, "Oh my God, what's going on here?" So then conscious parenting really helped me to see how the connection with my children was not perfect. And I think also in my case, my children, they did act out a little bit. I mean, for their age, really, it's also age appropriate, but they showed some signs of distress. But I think they had it before. It's just that they were oppressing it. So I think these things, first it gets worse before it can heal, because first it needs to come out.
Yeah, I
But it does
agree.
come out because now it's a safer space. So
Yes.
I think what happens though a lot is that then mom thinks, "Oh my God, what did I do to them? Look at them now, they're crying so much. Now they're angry. Now they're this and that." Well, good that they're showing it, right? Good that it's
Hmm.
surfacing, because before it was just oppressed, like in yourself, they're
It's
mirroring.
repressed and they are then, because they're holding it in and they don't know what to do with it, they are then starting, it's almost like the seed that sows the pattern that they start creating so that they can survive their environment.
Yeah.
And this is really important to acknowledge and realize, a real realization that in the world, right, our previous ancestors have been surviving and
Hmm.
repressing and surviving and repressing. And now we're honored. We're so honored with this opportunity to stop, right? It's almost like a lot of humanity kind of needs to take a sacred pause and shift. And it has to be intentional. And I think that's really important to have an awareness of how intentional this needs to be, because we are just living patterns and recreating pain and trauma
Hmm.
intimately in our communities and on a world scale. And I really just, I think, can speak from experience. You know, you talked about we become stronger. I actually, I feel we've been strong all along. That's how we survive. We're pretty tough cookies, women. We can survive so much, which can intimidate the other, right? We can survive. They know this. Okay, no problem. What we haven't done and what we emerge to do when we actually take a shift is we become authentic in who we are and what our voice sounds like now. That's the shift. We're strong.
Hmm.
I was told, she's so strong. She's going to be fine. She's so strong, which allows the other, during this divorce process, she's so strong. Yeah, it doesn't mean I don't need love and support and an ear, right? It doesn't mean that I'm not human,
Hmm.
right? So I think that what you're saying is beautiful, and yeah, I think we really need to move forward and reframe this.
So how do we create that support for ourselves? Because it's not going to come from the outside. I mean, I experienced actually that some of my family, I think they were a little bit scared to be too much there because it was, I mean, they say it right after it, it's too painful to see. But I'm in
So
it. So,
let's talk about that real quick. The family itself is in their own pattern, and it depends on the size of the family. Um, my ex-partner's family was a large family. They have their own patterns, number one, individually, and then they have their own patterns with each other.
mhm,
That's just what they've grown up to be. I mean, until they choose to be different, right? It's a choice, but they're so used to their own patterns and how they all fit into their, system. My experience is different. I wasn't, born and raised with a family system. My mother was a single mother, and she was a single mother in the military. So, I mean, I was born, we moved to a state, and then we moved to a different country, you know? Then we came back and moved to a state and then came back, to where family is. So I wasn't born and raised with these patterns, which I actually, there's pros and cons to this experience. There's the con of not feeling like you belong, right? But there is the pro of I didn't have to grow up with all of the resentment and all of the things that people have, right, with each other. So I could come back and I could really see people and experience them, not people, but my family members differently than how they experienced each other. And so it's really realizing because when we choose to separate, the family will react according to what they've attached to, what religion, so what ideologies, the
mhm,
institutions, marriage, what it means to them. They're so attached to it. So when you're trying to think of, I need support, and at the time, because divorce is a painful process, it's not fun. It's
mhm,
not like you throw a party and go, yay, I'm getting a divorce. you know, it's a painful process. So let it be what it really truly is. So, so when you have families that are attached to something, that's one thing. But they also, when they see you and they know you, it can evoke something within them. So they want to fix you or they want to save you or they don't know what to do. So I personally paused, really just allowed myself some space, and I reconstructed my support system.
mhm,
I did that. So I actually then could realize what do I need and allow new people, new experiences, new relationships. And I reconstructed my support system. And that doesn't negate anything that any support that I received prior to or anything. It's beautiful. It was wonderful. But it wasn't, it just couldn't be. What do I want to say about that? Uh, it was needed at the time, but I had to evolve. I had to evolve out of the family structure
mhm,
because everybody's living their patterns and how they are with each other and whatever. And I wasn't in my personal power. So I felt like I was just there. And I don't want to be just there. I don't want to be just. going along to get along. You know, we I want to be able to wake up every morning and be who I am, and that's it. And I don't have to be the best person that day. I'm certainly not the worst person that day, but I want to be able to move through the day, as they say, authentically, but just being me, and that's okay. And I want to be able to move through the day and accept others just as they are, and that's okay. Right. So that's why I think when we think of support, it is a real interesting topic because we don't want to leave our families either. I love my family, I love them. And I had to reconstruct a support system for me that takes nothing away from who they are or how lovely they are or anything. It's just being okay with what you need so that you can be who you are. And then that just, like nervous system regulation, then just let it be. And things will just start to move forward.
I would like to pick up on that support system because I think there also we need to have a lot of compassion with ourselves because it is not easy. I mean, I guess most people do not start off wanting to be single moms because there's no backup for you, right? So it's a lot of
Not
pressure.
easy.
You have
Yeah.
to hold the space for the kids. You cannot break down in front of them if you want to break down. Of course, you can show some tears sometimes, but if you want to really break down, you have to do it in your own time or when they're asleep or something. But I think it's also the compassion and not feeling guilty if something is imperfect and asking for help. And I think for a lot of us, it's very
Yes,
hard to ask for help.
it
Because
is.
the
We don't want to be a burden.
no, we don't want to be a
We
burden.
don't want to be a burden on anybody. And what do they think of us if I need help?
Yes,
You
then they think
know,
I can manage,
we
right?
don't want to be judged. I mean, these are
Exactly.
our dilemmas, right? We don't want to be a burden. It's also a response to trauma. It really is.
Yeah.
Because it's okay to ask for help. Why aren't we asking for help? Why aren't we creating space and saying, you know what? I can help you. And actually, I think this is why it's so hard with family too. Nobody's really able to create healthy boundaries and be okay with it. Um, why can't we say, you know what, I can help you and this is how. Outside of that, I don't have the capacity. Why can't we have these honest
Hmm.
moments with each other?
Yeah.
Rhea, I can give you 5 hours a week, right? If you need my ear, I have up to 5 hours a week. Outside of that, whatever, or even whatever it is. I think that's also, really important to know that we're all learning to create boundaries, and boundaries are scary, and some people don't even like the word boundaries, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But we have to be able to, and here's the thing, I think too, as we know, and with our training from Dr. Shafali, boundaries aren't really against the other person. Because I remember when I was like starting with boundaries, I was just thinking, I have to create a boundary with that person. Well, yeah, but it's not because necessarily of them. When you create a boundary, whether it's you need to just not be in contact or you need limited contact or whatever it is so that you can refocus on you and your nervous system.
Hmm.
Something is triggered, something's dysregulated. And if that's continuous, then how can you work on this, on
Right.
what's actually occurring with you? And like you mentioned earlier, we become so disconnected. So it's not easy for people to connect back to their body. I know that we're so familiar with that term and that concept, but there is a severance where we become so much in our head and intellectualize everything or make a story about something or judge and criticize. I mean, all the things are happening up here, and we don't just pause, quiet down, and what else is going on in our body? Is our heart rate, on rapid fire? Are my hands shaking? Is my stomach upset in these moments? And I don't want to digress. I don't want to digress at all. But, that is partly why um, I think we don't receive the support we need because we're trying to reattune. We're
Hmm.
trying to attune back into our bodies, and most people around us aren't there. So we're doing something that can really feel threatening to them or uncomfortable, and and then they may become judgmental, right? And create more stigma because they're like, "Whoa, what's happening to you?
Yeah.
You're doing this. You must be this or you're that." I mean, I can only imagine the conversations that have happened um, outside of my presence. And, you can just only imagine and go, let it be, let it go. It's okay.
And I think you and I, we have both gone through the process of creating these because you also need that community, and it could be virtual. You don't have to have
Yes.
people there that can hold that space for you and where you can just be honest, right? And if you have
Yes.
a bad day, you can just say it and people understand it because they're in a similar circumstance. And I think, especially single women, we are sometimes, because we were so used to pretending during the marriage to
Yes.
over the, to hide the cracks and to gloss over the problems, that now it's hard to be that authentic to the same people that you've been gaslighting just to keep the outside appearance okay. So it's good to have that safe community where you can really, really be honest. Because if we just live this strong woman, oh, you're just super mom
Yeah. It's
narrative,
not fair.
which is sometimes
It's
really
not fair to
ourselves.
anybody or any relationship. And what you're saying is, keeping up the appearances, you know what? It's like we're fake.
Hmm.
We're living a fake life. That's why we're miserable. We're being fake. We're not being honest. And that gets absorbed in our body. I'm a registered nurse. I've been in the medical field for 20 years. And now you can reflect back and see, wow, these people aren't just having a physical experience or whatever. There's a lot of emotional and psychological background to a physical experience. Right? So, like the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Our bodies are keeping the score. So the disease processes, cancers and things like that. Yes, there are external influences and there are internal influences.
Yeah,
What can we control is the internal influence. And
exactly.
so I just wanted to mention that because part of these stigmas is because we're all kind of fake. We're all kind of just wanting to make everything look good so people can look at us and like us and look at what you're doing. And oh my God, you're so amazing. Look at that. Look at your kid. Just because my kid is doing great in football and going to college doesn't mean I'm so great. So what?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
my kids, I mean, one decided not to go to college, one is starting college. Both are great. They
Hmm.
both don't need to be doing this or doing that to appease anybody. They
Exactly.
just need to be in their own experience right now. And that's okay. In equanimity. I
Yeah.
don't care if your kid is on the golf team winning the most championships. So what?
Hmm.
I don't care.
They
Is your kid
are.
a good human being? Are you supporting people in your community? Beautiful. That's what matters. Are
Mhm.
you expanding and evolving your, idea of the world? Or are you just rigid?
Yeah,
You can only see here, can only see right here.
absolutely.
Those are things that I find now that really define how I experience someone.
Hmm.
I remember myself being that person, my kids is in soccer and he's doing this, and I felt so much validation from that. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. It's lovely, but it means what?
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
means what? Yeah.
So I think our message today is basically we should, first of all, rethink about this term, the broken family. I don't think our family is broken just because we are single mom. And then we should have a lot of compassion with ourselves and be honest with ourselves and start learning asking for help, building a community and healing because it's so important for our kids' well-being. So if we don't want to, some moms, of course, they don't want to invest in themselves because they thinking it takes away from the kids, but actually it doesn't because only like that are you able to hold the space. But
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Rhea. I know that for me, post divorce, post separation, that's when I did start investing in myself. And I
mhm,
had done that. That's
yeah,
when I did say, you know what? I think I need to take this class, this course. I think I need a coach. What is coaching? I don't know. I think I need that. That sounds good, you know?
mhm.
Um, so I did that, and it's changed my trajectory in life. It's changed my life, and it changed my relationships with my children,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that it is something to consider in addition to, seeing a psychologist or doing other things or going to yoga or what have you. But reimagining what your support system can look like is a beautiful thing.
So
Why
let's
not?
explore that further next time. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your time, and we'll put in the caption maybe where people can find you.
Beautiful. Thank you,
Yeah,
Raya. Thank you so
love it.
much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. Have a lovely day and see you
You
soon.
as well. You as
Bye.
well. Take care. Bye bye.